am your curator at Centerville-Washington History. Our mission at Centerville-Washington History is to collect, preserve, interpret, and promote our heritage. Today, we want to connect you to the local history in the Sugarcreek Baptist Church Cemetery. Come along with me on a walk through the Tombstones and learn some stories of this area's earlier times. Learn about some of the very first people who chose to call Centerville and Washington Township home. In 1796, when the first settlers arrived, they find that this land is used as a hunting ground for native tribes. There is a lot of lush vegetation and big meaty animals. They find a few camps of friendly people. This land is part of the Northwest Territory. It is open for settlement by George Washington and the Continental Congress after the American Revolution. There are 6 early cemeteries in this area. 5 of them are affiliated with a church, like this one. Only the new Centerville Cemetery at the corner of Maple and Ridgeway is not connected to any one particular denomination. You are standing at the entrance to Sugarcreek Baptist Church Cemetery. The Sugarcreek Baptist Church is organized on November 2nd, 1799. Centerville has been founded merely 3 years before, in 1796. The church meets in one parishioner's home. There are 9 members, 4 men and 5 women. In 1802, the group acquires 1.5 acres from Centerville's co-founder, Aaron Nutt, for construction of a log cabin church, including land for a cemetery. Aaron is to be paid in produce and cattle as long as the log cabin church is completed by July. If that deadline isn't met, he is to receive 50 pounds of sterling. The earliest burial is in 1802, and the church is completed on July 3rd, 1803. It probably stands where the restaurant behind you is today. On July 4th, 1807, Ben Robbins, another co-founder of Centerville, and Whiteley Hatfield are commissioned to lay out the cemetery in a proper manner. Notice all of the graves are in rows that run parallel to Main Street. The graves either face east or west. There are many family plot markers, tall, large stones with the last name. Around these are smaller individual stones for members of the family. There are a few families that have used fences or stone markers for family plot borders. You will see a few examples of these during our time together today. Additional land is added to the cemetery until 1868. Plots are sold until 1926. In 1979, Michael Karowitz is the last person buried here. There are 458 graves total. Many early settlers are interred here. Veterans from the American Revolution and many other wars are buried in this cemetery. Dr. John Hull, the first settler in Washington Township, is here. Also, 2 of our 3 founding fathers of Centerville find final rest in this hallowed ground: Aaron Nutt and Benjamin Robbins. Benjamin Archer, the 3rd founding father, has some debt issues, so he leaves this territory. He moves with his family to Washington Township in Allen County, Indiana. He is given credit as the primary developer of Fort Wayne. Now, please direct your attention to the tall, thin monument on your right. 3 children from the same family are buried in this spot. Washington dies March 25th, 1854, at 1 year, 9 months, 13 days. Just about 5 years later, little Rebecca dies on March 16th, 1859, at 1 year, 2 months, and 19 days. Only 6 days later, on March 22nd, 1859, young John dies at 3 years, 1 month, 22 days. Think about that again. 3 children die in the month of March within about 5 years. This gives you a glimpse into pioneer life. It is a rugged struggle for survival every single day. Life, especially for children, is never guaranteed. Transport your imagination back to the 1800s. Medicine, vaccines, technology, obviously not as advanced. Viruses and disease run rampant, particularly in the fall, winter, and early spring. Weather in Ohio is unpredictable and varies, sometimes even by the hour. There is no central heating or air conditioning. Modern conveniences. Doctors few and far between. Life is a precious gift, and survival to old age a lucky privilege. These 3 tiny siblings are only one group who die young. During this tour, you will learn the stories of 3 other families who lose 3 children in the early stages of life. Let's keep going. Turn to the east to the PEASE monument, located a few feet more into the cemetery. Take a few moments to walk around the PEASE family plot marker. Study the inscriptions. They tell another dramatic, realistic story of pioneer life. Anne, wife of Horace, dies at 28 years on April 29, 1829. William, son of Anne, dies at 1 year, 1 month on May 5, 1830. It is a safe assumption that Anne probably dies in childbirth. Without prenatal care and birth at home, life is precious but never guaranteed. Venture south now to find our very first settler in Washington Township, Dr. John Hull. Aim for the pink grayish stone. There is an American flag next to it. Dr. John Hull is the first settler in Washington Township. He lives an incredible, yet somewhat short life. John is born in New Jersey on April 30th, 1755. He is one of 7 children raised in a family that struggled financially. He is permitted to attend school until he is 11 years old. At that point, the local family doctor notices how smart John is, particularly in math and science. He offers to foster the youngster and educate him in the medical arts. Fortunately, his father takes the doctor up on his kind offer. John's education leads him to serve in the American Revolution as a personal physician and surgeon to Brigadier General Richard Montgomery. This in turn leads him to the famous Battle of Quebec, fought on New Year's Eve, 1775. There, he sees Montgomery fall to his death, riddled with bullets. After the war, he eventually brings his wife Massey and family here to Washington Township, located in the newly opened Northwest Territory. They settle in the area where the Windmill House is, now located on Mad River Road and Alex Bell. He builds and runs 2 sawmills on Holes Creek. He is known far and wide as a sociable, generous, kind man. He still practices medicine, riding his horse to patients' homes during all kinds of weather. He often sleeps outside since people call for his services from as far away as Xenia, Hamilton, and Sydney. That, along with extreme exposure to the elements when serving in Quebec, weakens his continence. He becomes very ill and dies on January 6, 1813. He is 57, almost 58 years old. He has fathered 10 children. 5 of them die before Massey dies in 1842 at 83 years, 5 months. She is buried left of John, and Nancy, their daughter, who dies in 1840 at age 43, is here on the other side of Massey. Jeremiah, their oldest son, is buried on the right side of John. He dies at 32 years old, 2 years before John. Massey has to sell almost 400 acres of his land to pay off debt. This is not uncommon during this time period. First, doctors did not make much money. John is paid in produce and goods most of the time. Also, early settlers have many needs, and the storekeepers extend credit easily, knowing it will eventually be paid off with the person's estate. In any event, Massey sells 61 of those 400 acres to investors who build Woodburn, a town northwest of Centerville that is, until the mid-1800s, the industrial mecca of Montgomery County. Speaking of Montgomery County, guess who it is named after? Brigadier General Richard Montgomery, on John's suggestion. John's first marker is made of sandstone, like Jeremiah's. It is replaced in 1940 by the American Medical Association. They provide a pink granite monument in honor of John's highly esteemed career as the first doctor in the Miami Valley. In 1956, an elementary school is built on whole property on Whip Road. In 1959, the monument is relocated to the front of the school that bears his name, John Hole Elementary School. The stone in front of you remains to memorialize this great man in his final place of rest. Let's move on. There is plenty more for you to experience. Travel south to the far corner of the cemetery. There you will see 3 tiny tombstones. This is the site of the second group of 3 siblings who pass while young. The first is a child who dies in 1866 at age 5 months, 27 days. The third is a child who dies a year later at age 3 years, 5 months, 11 days. Finally, the middle tombstone belongs to the third sibling, who dies 2 years later at age 8 years, 1 month, and 1 day. Illness is again the probable cause of death in all 3 cases. Epidemics of smallpox, scarlet fever, flu, and tuberculosis threaten the early settlers continually. To live past childhood is a sweet relief for families who wish to leave a strong legacy and need help with farming, the primary occupation in the local area. Pay particular attention to the way each day is counted in a lifetime on these tombstones. It offers some insight into the earlier times. Details are important. Every day matters. Move northeast toward the 2 tall white markers in front of you. There are American flags next to each and on the monuments themselves. James Kirby and William Miller are 2 local men who fight in the Civil War. Their flag markers say GAR, which means Grand Army of the Republic, the Union side. Look for more of these today as you walk. The families of Kirby and Miller are proud of their service. See the star and flag symbols on their stones? Speaking of the Civil War, I have a very haunting story to share. Probably the eeriest story in Centerville about the very first murder victim. Turn north and walk a bit to the large tree. Look for the Kelsey family plot. Go there next. Scout about a bit until you find 2 curved tombstones. The grave of Jesse Kelsey sits east and back of his wife Unity's grave. The big tree is on the right side of Jesse. Tragedy strikes this prominent farm family on a bright moonlit night in September of 1862. Their farm is located further south on Main Street, where the old Kroger and Restoration Furniture sit currently. Jesse is one of 12 born into a farming family. He is very successful in his own right. He runs his hog farm meticulously. He has hired Samuel Robbins, a grandson of Benjamin Robbins, a co-founder of Centerville, as a farmhand before the Civil War. Samuel goes off to war, but then leaves the Army AWOL in 1862. He is 22 years old. He tells local neighbors and friends that he has brought home his pistol from the war. He is acting strange, drinking and bragging. He just isn't quite right since his time in the service. Jesse goes to the hog market on September 6th and comes home to his pregnant wife Unity with a lot of money. Samuel sets to rob him. In the middle of the night, Samuel sneaks in through the bedroom window and aims his pistol at Jesse. Unity is startled awake. He shoots but misses. Jesse encourages Unity to run and save herself. After a skirmish, Samuel shoots again, killing Jesse in cold blood right in front of Unity. Jesse is only 33. Unity seeks help on a neighboring farm. By the next morning, she is able to point to Samuel as the previous evening's intruder. He is tried, found guilty, and hung. Unity gives birth to a son about 12 days later. She names him after his father, Jesse. Jesse Jr. lives on the family's farm his entire life. He marries and is laid to rest in the new Centerville Cemetery on the corner of Maple and Ridgeway at age 78. What happens to Unity? She never remarries. She dies 4 years later at age 32. Jesse's tombstone reads, "My husband's grave, died by the hand of an assassin." Unity's tombstone reads, "My wife's grave, Unity, wife of Jesse Kelsey. Rest, mother, in quiet sleep, while friends in sorrow weep. And hear their heartfelt offering. Bring near thy grave, thy praises sing." Whew. What a story. Love, tragedy, betrayal. Jesse Kelsey, the first murder victim in Centerville. Let's walk a bit northeast to one of the founding fathers' grave, about 3 rows east of Unity. Let's meet Benjamin Robbins. Centerville-Washington History has provided a wonderful granite plaque embedded in cement next to Benjamin Robbins' tombstone to honor his contribution to our community. Please look for this as we go to see Ben. There is so much to understand about the settlers' lives. These next 2 family plots tell stories fairly typical of many early Americans. They illustrate the determination and resiliency of people during the infancy of our country. In 1796, the Robbins family come to the Northwest Territory from New Jersey with Aaron Nutt, Benjamin Archer, and their families. In 1797, Benjamin builds a 1-room log cabin with a loft in the back area of the current Routson Funeral Home. In 1803, a violent storm destroys part of the cabin, so he rebuilds another log cabin. In 1809, he replaces that cabin with a stone home. Much sturdier. Who from the family is buried here? Buried here is Benjamin, born in 1760 in New Jersey. He dies in 1837 here in Centerville at almost 77 years old. His wife, Bathsheba, is to his right. She is Aaron Nutt's sister. Remember Aaron? Another co-founder of Centerville. She dies in 1848 at almost 88 years of age. She is buried next to Ben. William C., the 3-year-old child of Benjamin and Bathsheba's 7th child Samuel, and his first wife Eliza, is buried next to Benjamin. Little William dies in 1828. His tombstone is missing. 10 years later, in 1838, Eliza dies at age 32, 9 months, 23 days. She is buried to the right of Bathsheba. A few interesting tidbits about her husband Samuel. He is a blacksmith. He is also the first mayor of Centerville in 1830. He remarries after Eliza dies and has 3 more sons. The oldest son of Samuel and his new wife Mary, born in 1840 and named Samuel as well, is the man who killed Jesse Kelsey in 1862. Bathsheba and Ben have 10 other children for a total of 12. 3 die at a young age. Ben Jr. at age 1, Rebecca at birth, and twin John at age 2. This is the 3rd group of 3 young children who die from one family. Much later, 9th child Levi marries a woman named Sarah. When she dies at age 42, she is buried next to young William. Her tombstone is missing too. Our next stop is the Nutt family plot, brother-in-law of Benjamin Robbins and a second co-founder of Centerville. Just veer straight ahead, almost due east, to find him. Look for another granite plaque in the ground next to a limestone tombstone. It is approximately 20 yards. Centerville-Washington History has placed this granite plaque in memory of Aaron Nutt's dedication to and impact on our community. In front of his original tombstone, you will note a disc with 1776 upon it. You will also see a flag holder just as on John Hull's grave. These honor the American Revolutionary War veterans. Aaron is from New Jersey. He is born on July 17, 1758. His family is poor. His father dies when Aaron is only 5 years old. His mother remarries and apprentices him to a local tailor at age 14. When the American Revolution begins, the tailor releases Aaron from the apprenticeship agreement in order to serve in the militia in his place. Aaron is raised as a peaceful Quaker, so most of his service is as a teamster and a scout, not a soldier. Once he did fire a gun at a man during a battle, but other than that, it is said he never pointed a gun at anyone. He marries Quaker widow Mary Archer, sister of co-founder Benjamin Archer, while in New Jersey. The three founding fathers, connected through their wives, move into the Northwest Territory together. John Sims, a Continental Congress member who funds George Washington's retreat through New Jersey during the war, is given land in the new territory between the Miami rivers. Sims meets and asks the men to survey for him. Sims likes the Quaker look of the group. He thinks Aaron looks trustworthy. Their route is through Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and then into Ohio. While in Kentucky, 3 of Aaron and Mary's children die of smallpox, 1 week after another. Aaron claims every Thursday he buries a beloved child in Kentucky for 3 consecutive weeks. This is the 4th family who lost 3 little ones at a very young age. The 3 founding fathers draw lots for their plats of land. Aaron draws the final straw. His 320-acre plat stretches from present-day Franklin Street to Alex Bell to Cemetery Drive on the east. Benjamin Robbins' plat borders Aaron's on the west. Aaron builds his cabin on the corner of Ridgeway and Maple Avenue, at the top of the hill. Apparently, when he brings his family from Kentucky, he boasts he will only unpack his wagon into his own cabin. He has convinced some men settling around Franklin to come up to help with construction. It is easy to convince them with 6 gallons of fine Kentucky whiskey. The cabin is constructed in 1 day and the Nutts happily move in. Mary and Aaron have 6 more children. Mary dies in 1817 at almost 61 years old. Aaron marries another Quaker widow, 38-year-old Martha Pedrick Craig, who has 2 children from her first marriage, nearly 4 months after Mary's death. He is about 59. Together, the couple have 2 sons, Joseph and then John. Aaron dies in 1842 at age 83 years, 10 months, 16 days. He has been ill. In this family plot, you can see Aaron, Mary, and several family members in this row. At the end is Aaron Jr., who dies late in 1842, the same year as his dad. Martha and more family members rest in the row behind Aaron and Mary. Aaron is an entrepreneur in the best sense. During his lifetime, he is a tailor, tanner, tavern owner, auctioneer, merchant, building contractor, township official, investor. The list goes on and on. His jovial, kind, temperate nature makes him a favorite among the locals. Please head south, slightly west, to locate the Munger family plot. There is a flag there. Edmund Munger lives from 1763 to 1850. He falls off a ladder in his barn and dies at age 86. His original tombstone has been replaced by the marble one you see here. His wife Eunice lives until she is 101. She is to the right of Edmund. Edmund, brother Jonathan, and nephew Benjamin Maltby, plus their families, moved to the area in 1799 from New England. It is a horrendous journey that takes 2 years. Soon after settling, the Kellogg and Tibbles families, also from New England, joined them. They settle in the southwest area of the township on and around current-day Yankee Street. Hence the name of the road, Yankee. Settlers from New England? Edmund is a blacksmith. He becomes very involved in community politics and policies. He is a county commissioner from 1804 to 1808, serves in the Ohio 7th General Assembly, and is Washington Township clerk from 1809 to 1826. He is credited with helping to start a library in 1810. Edmund has a very heroic military career and makes significant contributions in the War of 1812. The Ohio militia is under his command, Brigadier General Edmund Munger. He is well respected among his men. He is buried here along with his wife, Eunice Weller Munger. In total, they have 10 children. Amazing people. Move to the Doolittle family plot, located a bit north and east of the Mungers. It is easy to spot this next plot. It has an iron railing around it. Please be careful not to lean or pull on the railing. As I mentioned at the start of our tour, some families use more than a tall monument to mark the family plot. This is a perfect example. The iron railing keeps the Doolittles very close, even in death. Enos Doolittle owns and operates a tavern where Town Hall is now. It is well respected and thought to be one of the finest inns west of the Alleghenies. People traveling make sure to stop by for a refreshment, news, and rest from their journeys. It has a large dining room and a ballroom. William Henry Harrison stays here once. Buried in the plot is Bathsheba, Enos's wife. She is the daughter of co-founder Benjamin Robbins and wife Bathsheba. She dies on February 28, 1845. Enos moves on to Columbus after the passing of his wife. Also buried here are some of their children. Step carefully just behind this plot. Find a tiny tombstone with a human figure on the top. This tiny tombstone for Joseph Pease is a rather curious thing. It sits back here, behind the Doolittles, isolated from any other family members. Joseph is born in 1810 and dies on September 11, 1860. He is 50 years, 1 day old. What makes this tombstone special? First, it has a human figure on the top, relaxing. At first glance, it resembles a woman. However, women in that age wore long dresses to the ankles. No self-respecting woman would dare show her knees. Young boys, though, wore clothing similar to what you see before you. Indeed, this figure must be a young boy. Remember, Joseph dies at 50. Hardly a young boy. Why the figure? During the 1800s, a carving of an angel or child on a tombstone represented youth and innocence. For instance, the grave of a young person. Perhaps Joseph is young-spirited, childlike. Perhaps he is very simple. Unfortunately, The truth is buried with him. Head north to another remarkable family plot marker. Go to the Watkins family. They are enclosed together with a cement fence. Please do not stand or sit on the stone. Thank you. The Watkins family is remarkable. John C. is a tobacco farmer and a businessman in the mid to late 1800s. He is instrumental in building the first high school in 1884. He leads a committee to buy land and build the brick building on West Franklin. It is the area's high school until the consolidation of grades 1 to 12 into the Magzig building in 1924. The building still stands as Los Piramides Restaurant. We know that John's two children, May and Alan, and other family members also have markers in this plot. Directly to the east of you is our next stop. Walk east to the Thatcher family plot. The family plot monument for the Thatcher family is astounding. This granite monument that replaces the original is impressive for sure. Take a stroll and look carefully through the grass. You should be able to locate 4 small cornerstones that border the entire plot. David Thatcher, buried here, donates a quarter of the money that is needed to rebuild the old log Sugarcreek Baptist Church in 1832. It is rebuilt in stone. He is also a Washington Township trustee during the Civil War. He dies in 1889 at 83 years, 3 months, 14 days. His wife, Miriam, is to the left of the tall monument. She dies in 1854 at 43 years, 8 months, 7 days. Our time together is just about over. Before you leave, though, I have to show you one final resting place. It is truly the most unique tombstone here. Walk all the way back to the north corner to the Wilson family plot. You are heading toward the cement tree. Perfect for our tour's grand finale is the tombstone of Reverend J.H. Wilson. Reverend Wilson is buried in the family plot. Notice the names on the surrounding tombstones and the taller Wilson plot marker. He is a minister at the Sugarcreek Baptist Church. This is a special cement marker. Upon close inspection, you can see that cement is poured into a mold to create the unique shape. This is a tombstone manufacturing style used in the late 1800s. All writing is carved into the flat panels. Now, study the symbols of eternal life you see. A tree is typically symbolic of life, but this one is obviously dead. Reverend Wilson's life here on earth is done. Nothing grows from the branches. However, see the ferns and plants that edge the bottom? They are growing up toward the light, toward heaven. See the cross at the top? Definitely a symbol of life at the end of death. On the front, it shows he was 47 years old when he died, 1840 to 1887. This tombstone is expensive, which implies how well respected this man of faith is. Either his family or parishioners or both want to revere him forever. Meet me in heaven on the front. What a comforting thought for those he serves. The back panel says, "At rest," which we are now, at rest. This concludes our tour. I hope that you have enjoyed our time together as much as I have. It has been fun walking among the tombstones with you. There is so much more to discover. For additional stories and information, please visit our website, Centerville-WashingtonHistory.org, or come see us at one of our 3 locations. The Walton House Museum is located at 89 West Franklin. The Ashel Wright House and School Museum are located at 26 North Main Street. Finally, the Nutt Cottage Research Center is located at 78 North Main Street. Phone numbers can be found on our website. We are a nonprofit organization. We are free and open to the public, 12 to 4 p.m. Tuesday through Friday, or by appointment. Have a safe journey home. Thanks for coming today.